Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Gabbing with Gabby. And today I have my very special friend, Jeane Wong. She's a curiosity developer. Hi, Jeane. Thank you so much for being on here.
Oh my gosh, Gabby, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you.
So, this was my reaction when Jeane first came onto Zoom. Yes!
Right. Like we haven't had like a talk, but we worked in the same room for a long time. So
We
yeah,
sure did. We worked in back in the day. I don't know when it was, like 98 or something.
yeah,
Who knows? Pre
yeah.
2000s.
Pre
I
our
worked at Whole
children,
Foods.
pre our yeah,
Pre-children.
yeah.
Mhm. Pre-marriage, all that. Well, you did meet the love of your life at Whole Foods.
Oh, like side note, like your listeners aren't going to know this story, but you remember she was the head of our nemesis team.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
whole nother story. Yeah,
It's a whole 'nother story.
that's I
Yeah,
was like,
so much
"Oh,
history.
we're not getting along at work. I think I'll just marry her." There.
Yeah. Why not? It's perfect.
Almost 20 years now. Yeah, it'll be 20 years
I
this
know.
year. Yeah.
I know, so great. So we know each other from Whole Foods. We worked together. I was the cashier at first, and then I don't even know how I got into SSI department. Um, Somehow made my way over there, but I loved that department. It was so fun, and we had so much fun.
You did.
And it was cool because you get to walk around the store, like all those signs that you see at Whole Foods. And we didn't make the signs, but we worked with the sign maker. But we made sure everything was legit and on point.
Right. That's right. If it said you got $1 off, you got $1 off.
Yeah, you made sure that
And no misspellings unless it was funny.
right, and no misspellings, and all the weights and measures were up to code.
Right. Yeah. Well, how did we
Yeah,
get
lots of emails. I remember there were a lot of emails going on. I don't know how well I did my job, but I did enjoy working with you, and we had a lot of fun.
the same? Same. Yeah.
Yes,
It's a strange thing, but we both like, yeah. And Whole Foods. I mean, how many people start at Whole Foods that I know now, which is super crazy, right? I
yes, we
randomly
do
run into
know.
people like, oh yeah, I totally work for Whole
Yes,
Foods. Like, oh really? Oh wow.
mhm,
Yeah.
yes. And I was telling you before, I just interviewed Chef Joanne, and she worked at Whole Foods, and it was after we were there, but she knows some of the people that we know. I'm like, wait, do you know this person? Do you know that person? And it's yeah, it's like nice community at Whole Foods, and it was a great time to work there. But then we ended up moving on and doing our other things. Jeane has gone on to create a League of Extraordinary Scientists and Engineers, which is a really great organization. She works a lot with kids, and I can't wait to hear. I don't know the story yet of how it came to be. So we're all going to hear this story together for the first time. So I'm going to sit on my couch, cross my legs, and listen to your story of how this amazing, amazing organization has come together.
Well, I mean, it like it all like all great things. Nothing was planned. Literally, the path was no idea where we were going. But Timo and I, so the love of my life,
Hmm.
we had a baby together, and we
Hmm.
were looking for daycare, and we literally couldn't find something that wasn't what we wanted. We were looking for something that really engaged our human. They go by they them now, so I'm really trying to
Yes,
work in that.
got it.
Uh, so we were trying to look for something for them, and we just couldn't find what we wanted. And I was like, "Well, why don't we open a daycare?" And
Why not?
no, right? And Timo was like, because her degree is, even prior to Whole Foods, was in child development. And I loved kids so much
Yes,
and kids all the time, always. So I was like,
yes.
yeah, why don't we, since we know exactly what we want and we can't find it, maybe there's a need. So maybe we fill that
Hmm.
need, right? And so we cashed in all of our 401k stock options and everything from Whole Foods right before the stock market crashed.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
See, I
Woo!
didn't know this.
Yes,
This is
we
a
did.
real reaction.
We literally cashed in, and like, right? Like,
Yes.
we cashed in everything, and we're so scared, and just we were terrified. We're just like, okay, okay, okay. If we're gonna do this, though, we just got to do it. We just got to do it because it's what we want to do. And we built this place, and so we built basically a daycare slash science center because at that time, our human, almost 2 years old, about 18 months,
Mhm.
was already like science savant-ish. So, we found
Oh,
later that
wow.
they were on spectrum, but they were able to like organize things and were really interested in elements, and just it was ridiculous. It was kind of a weird like situation. Be like, yeah, okay. So they need to be
Yeah.
challenged in this. So anyway, we built it, and then we're like, well, we're going to get clients.
Yeah.
And immediately we started getting scientists and engineers and teachers and tattoo artists. I'm not really sure about that, but we literally got like every other tattoo artist that exists in San Diego. Like, right? Who knew?
There's a
As
science to
I
the
and
ink and
they're
the
so they're
colors.
they're a huge part of our community, right? So Flying Panther, Avalon, like these tattoos, right? They're like all of our family now. They're literally our
Yeah.
family forever. And so these became our clients, and we're like, okay, so we're doing something right. And we kept going and going and going. So every 3 months we had potlucks,
Mhm.
and everybody that so that because we did one of the biggest things that we want to do is not create a daycare, but create a community because
Mhm.
that's huge.
Mhm.
Especially coming from my background, I grew up in foster care and stuff, and so creating community has always been a really big deal to me. Is everywhere I go, I want to create community, right, and
Mhm.
open free spaces. So we had these potlucks, and one day I was looking around my potluck, and I was like, "That's the guy that's saving the Dan and John Bank. Oh my, that's like the head of Nano Composites. That's the entomologist from the San Diego Zoo, and that guy's is doing genomics, and
Yes.
that woman is the one that's on a ship." And I was like, oh my holiness. And so human was getting ready to go into school, and I noticed at school that in elementary school there was, you know elementary school teachers are hardest working people on the planet, and they're not paid enough,
Mhm.
they're not paid enough, they're not paid enough. Science is
Mhm.
not the first priority. Usually they're multi-subject, and science is really not it. Maybe they'll do a little bit of flowers and like, that
Yep.
type of thing, but real science. And I was like, so I invited all of the scientists and engineers that were in my living room. I said, hey, you guys want to come to have a beer? And they're like, yeah. So they all came. This beer. And I said, hey, so here's the situation. I've been in a lot of schools because at that time I was doing Jane brings bugs to schools, and I was taking
Mhm.
them to elementary school classrooms because I love
Mhm.
bugs, and so my background is mostly in entomology, what I love.
Yeah.
So I was like, so how would you guys like to take just volunteer and go into schools with me and like just teach what you teach, or you can teach me and I can teach you? And they all said yes. And
Wow.
they're like, well, what would she call it? And I was like, the League of Extraordinary Scientists and Engineers. They're like, that's way too big. And I'm like, yes, it is.
And it's going to be that big.
And it's going to be. So, because at that time, this was in 2009, and then we didn't officially go till 2014. But at that time, www dot, like,
Yeah, right.
too long, right?
It's a lot of typing.
And so we got a board of directors, we got a nonprofit, we started going to school,
Wow.
and then we started talking with teachers and
Mhm.
asking them, what was the problem, what were some of the barriers that they were having, and we found out really, really fast that a lot of honestly nonprofits and everything goes into schools. They actually charge schools, which clearly divides more of the equity gap. And we could talk about that too. COVID, we thought the equity gap was big. Well, during COVID, it got Grand Canyon-ish, like on a level we
Right.
even like imagine that it would go to. So we're even more, um, yeah, working on that. So I'm really
Mhm.
proud of some of the stuff that we did during COVID to kind of alleviate a little bit anyway. But so our board of
Mhm.
directors immediately said, okay, we're never going to charge a school ever, ever,
Well,
ever, ever, ever.
period.
We're
That's
just
it. That's good.
free. It's just free, and we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure out how to do it. Uh, yeah, we're not great with the whole like. we're not in that ballpark, right? Like,
Right. Because
but
you're a nonprofit as well. And
we
I
are,
mean, a nonprofit, you still need to generate money to pay for bills and keep the lights on and provide
yeah, but
supplies and things like that. Yeah.
but it's really hard to, compete in that arena. So things are
Yeah.
set up the way they are, and the grant system is crazy and ridiculous and doesn't make sense.
Hmm.
You have to you have to have a full-time grant writer, full-time admin, full-time marketing.
Yes.
By the time the money gets to the kids,
There's none left.
you're going to the schools of the person that gave you the money from the grant, right? So the rich people are
Yeah.
telling you who and what you should be doing, rather than the people that really have the need. So that's why I call it not low income but underserved, because there are some
Hmm.
low income schools that, you know nonprofits go to all the time because it looks really good. And not that they shouldn't go there, they should, but there's a
Yes.
lot of schools that never ever get reached because nobody knows anybody and it doesn't look as great on paper. So we made a hardcore decision just to say we're not going to do that, because we're
Hmm.
the only way that you could, to me, and this is just to me, the only way that
Yeah.
you can actually be equitable, completely really equitable, is to be free, because
Hmm.
everything else is not isn't it's not it the only way it could
Hmm.
be the same is if it's all free, because if it's
Yes.
not, then you're picking and choosing who and when and where, right? So we did that.
Exactly.
And then so from there, we've been in front of, now, oh my god, 350,000 students. um
Wow.
we've been in, like, we're constantly in about 43 schools. We're in front of the San Diego Padres field day, and they get the kids, some of our kids, free buses to come, and we do that. We do all of the programs, Del Mar Fair and everything. We've gone to all of those for free in exchange for equity. So we're like, you don't need to pay us, but please go to this school and pick up these kids and these buses. So,
Yep.
like, the buses in San Diego directly unified cost $250 a bus, but the buses,
Mm.
like, for a county school is like $600 to $800.
Yeah, very
So
expensive. The
us
buses are very
ironing out
expensive.
all of that stuff and trying to figure it out, that's really been our biggest focus for
Hmm.
LXS. So yeah, so then during COVID, the schools closed down on March 13th. I pulled
Hmm.
our human out 2 weeks prior to that.
Hmm.
And we shut down what was then Lyrics Daycare that my wife ran with our staff while I ran LXS. We shut it down, and I went virtual 3 days later, and
Hmm.
started, and it, I guess the greatest thing about not being beholden to anybody and not worrying about budgets and not worrying about where it comes from, just doing the right thing when it's the right thing to do, is you have
Hmm.
the flexibility just to go to teachers and say, holy moly, what do you need? And
Yeah.
the kids were sent home. And a lot of them, they've seen me because I've been in their classroom. And we thought it was a really important thing for them to see somebody that they've seen. So
Hmm.
that, because it was a kind of a scary time, and I was really worried about kids, especially at the beginning, where it was like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Hmm.
Um, so I started teaching science virtually and live, so the kids can interact with me and see someone that they've seen in their classroom. So it was as much normalcy as we could, give in that moment.
Hmm.
And we kept
Right.
doing it, we kept doing it, and we kept doing it. And then uh, teachers had to flip everything as fast as they could everywhere. We had to get computers. So then I worked with Channel 10 News, and we did a science thing. But then I did an international science fair.
Hmm.
Anything I could do to raise money to get kids laptops, Wi-Fi, whatever they needed to
Yeah.
try to connect the world where
Mm.
they were, and also to address kids in foster care and other things, and
Hmm.
all the ins and outs of it. And then the great thing is I've done so many things virtually that a lot more people have had even more access, and so we're like, hey, we should just keep building on this. And so that's kind of
Hmm.
what we're doing now. We did the Science and Engineering Festival. In fact, I was the MC. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it's so fun. So we did a
I
green
bet
screen and it had the
you were a great
in
MC, I bet.
it was so they're like, "Well, what should we do?" So I was emceeing all these different science organizations, and we were, like, green screening into them, and they're
Yeah.
like, "How do we tie it all together?" And I was like and they're like, "Well, the head producer can't be here because it's her son's birthday. Her son is 6, named Charlie." And I was like, "Well, let's bake Charlie a cake live.
Okay, perfect.
Science
Because
a science
that's
cake."
something, yeah, that's something that you developed during COVID too,
I
was your baking skills.
skills are like much more than they are, but working
Yes,
on it.
yes.
I never baked pre-cooked ever, but I ended up in so many spaces where trying to work with people remotely instead of physically was slightly challenging as it was for everyone.
Mhm.
But uh, I mean, you know me, Gabby.
Yes,
I like to do the work and get done and move to the next thing pretty
yes.
fast. I
Mhm.
don't really my admin skills are on a low, right? I'm not so
You're a
I
people
like
person.
to I yeah, and I wanna move, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I was getting a little frustrated not being able to just get a project, do it, launch it, move, right?
Yes.
And so to be patient to make sure that people could, move with me, I
Mhm.
had to find a hobby where I started it and I did it and I gave it to someone and they were happy and I
And
was
you're
like,
like,
"Oh, so
voila!
I'm gonna make a pie." Right.
There is science to baking because it has to be very precise. Otherwise, it doesn't come out good at all.
So
What's your
so check this
specialty?
out. This was a lemon pie that has a graham cracker
Ooh,
crust, and it's kind of like key lime pie, but it's with lemon. It's not lemon
okay,
meringue. Um,
okay,
so my wife was super about it, and she wanted it for her birthday. Her birthday was in November, last November.
okay.
So yeah, but we were both born on Thanksgiving Day of our prospective years. Is that
It's
crazy?
meant
Yeah,
to
me and my
be,
wife.
meant to be.
So she's like, yeah. So I was like, okay, I'll learn how to make that, and so I made that. But then during the science and engineering festival, we're making this rainbow cake. I was like, okay, so this is the science behind it. The flour, creates the structure, and the eggs bind it, and the baking soda, makes it rise. So I had Nicholas Galitsky, one of my scientists from LXS, who's
Mhm.
a cosmologist, who's building basically a time machine where you can see 14 billion light years away, right? And but he uses microwaves to see. He's going to see the light at the end of the Big Bang, and he's really doing this,
Okay,
like real for real for real.
okay, all
So
right.
he came
That's
by,
amazing.
and we put some eggs that were going to bind the cake into a microwave that OtterBox helped us retrofit, and we blew up the eggs in the microwave because right. So he came and we blew up the eggs, that
Uh-huh.
were making the cake for Charlie, and then we blew up a rocket with the baking soda and like went into the videographer's neighbor's yard. This is during the like we were
That's
doing
amazing.
what we did. We ended up with a beautiful rainbow cake with cream cheese frosting, and then Dr. DNA Molly Maddie came by and gave us the decorations of the colored worms that go together that you can totally see these brain like. So there's all these ridiculous people that the truth is. So I always say I'm the bus driver for bigger brains of my own.
Mhm.
But also I'm very Forrest Gumpy, and I always have been. I know you know that about me. Like I don't really do anything. I just end up in front
Well, that's not
of people.
true. You're very charismatic and people are drawn to you. You're like a magnet. People are very drawn to you because you're passionate about the things that you believe in. You have conviction and you're passionate about the things that you believe in, whatever you're talking about, whether it's science, politics, life, kids, anything. You're passionate. You know what you love, you believe in what you love, and you believe in what you talk about, and people are just magnetized to you. They're like, yes, we buy into. I mean, look what you've created. You were like, hey,
Okay.
come have a beer with me, guys and ladies and people. Come have a beer with me, and they're like, yeah, okay, we'll have a beer with you, sure. And yes, we're going to do everything that you just said,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And they still do. I mean, I have this amazing tribe. And yeah,
Yes.
I love you being part of my tribe and like running into you and also seeing what you did. Like I remember you going, Jeane, I'm gonna go do yoga. And I'm like, okay, like at the very beginning, right? Like when you were leaving, I was like,
Yes.
"Oh, okay, I didn't know. I had no idea. I was
Yes.
like, okay, I love
Neither
you.
did I, Jean. I
All
didn't
right.
know either.
No, I felt like I found you. I was like, let's go, girl, let's go, okay? And look at
Yeah.
you. I was like, dang, yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it ended up becoming a big part of my life. Yes, it is. It's your passion. You got to follow your passion. You got to follow what you do. How many people do you have working for LXS right now? Like, how many people, like teachers and things, do you have?
So we have
Volunteers.
a group of solid 14 volunteers, but
Wow.
that extends out to, so like when we do Kids the King Tide, we have 20, we had almost 20 scientists every day come and help us with a couple hundred kids get bust and explore the tide pool. So each one of those scientists, most of them are heads of their departments, and so they all run 20 to
It's
30 to
amazing.
100 scientists themselves. So the Salk Institute, Craig Venter Institute, like Scripps Institution of Oceanography, Nanocomposites, the Naval Warfare. Like,
Mhm.
so we have, groups within groups within groups. But our main group is 14. And it's really crazy because they all know like different science, and I usually don't really understand most of it until like
Mhm.
after like a couple hours, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute, you wait, you you could build a cape, make you be invisible like on Harry Potter right now, like with nanotechnology.
I
And I'm
want
like,
it.
why do you start with that?
Yeah,
Start
really.
Because they're just like,
I want it.
I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Wait a minute, you can make an invisibility cape. Start with
Wow.
that, and I would have. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it takes it takes a bus driver, to pull this stuff. Oh, you can do that right now, right? Like,
You know how to bring them together. You know how to bring them together. Yeah.
yeah, and the kids
So
love it, right?
yeah, the kids love it. I mean, my daughter in 4th grade, she had the best year in 4th grade because her 4th grade teacher, all these things that you're saying reminds me of her 4th grade year because her 4th grade teacher, who had been at the school forever, was really big into science. And those kids were always doing something hands on, making rockets, all kinds of stuff, right? Hands on science stuff. It was hands down the best school year that she had at the elementary school. And then there was just a community of us that all came together because plus then she would do like we're gonna go paddle boarding and stuff like taught these kids how to paddleboard, would give them a certificate if they passed her paddleboard training. So she was just really into creating a community and really into science and getting these kids and their hands dirty and in it and gardening and learning how things are growing and just she was just so fantastic. She's retired now, but Patty Bertram, you were Kaya's best teacher, and you need to know that.
Curiosity developer. We're a curiosity developer.
She
That's
was
what's up.
definitely she is a curiosity developer, and she's just a great person overall because she's always helping with foster children and care and things like that. So she just has a her and her husband, heart of gold, and are just totally into bringing that to kids. I mean, her classroom is just chock full of stuff, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, like you saw my office. Yeah, that's how we roll, right?
yeah, well, you got to have a bunch of stuff to keep them engaged
Did you see I
and kids
brought a
love
goat
it.
to school today? Did you see I
You
brought a
what?
goat to school today? If you follow my
Did you?
Instagram, I brought a goat. Yeah,
I'm
because
gonna look.
so today we're finishing our course in poopology. So we brought the goat. It's been good. Yeah, like
So,
that.
did you
That's
have the goat poop there so that you can do?
like a billion times today. Like I have to clean an interview. Like for real. Like that's
Where did the goat come from? Did you just borrow
right.
him from?
Yeah, from one of the graduates. Since because we created this community, we started Lyrics Daycare in 2006, and so we have a community of hundreds of people. And before COVID, we had one of the potlucks. There were over 200 people in my house
Oh
because
my.
because because again, we weren't creating a business. We created a community, and all of these people. It's
Yeah.
so great. Like I love that. We're all here and we have each other, and we all really genuinely care about each other and each other's kids and
Mhm.
each other's lives. And I don't know, that's the way to be as a human. That's how humans should be,
Mhm. I
all of us
agree.
contribute what we have and we share what we have, and then we all thrive together. We all thrive together, right? And that's the way to
Right.
be, and it makes a better makes better experience, right?
So what does the future look like for you guys?
Well, I mean, one thing that we did was, first of all, the daycare, Lyrics Daycare that we had for 15 years, we've now pivoted into a thing called Sciencing Time, and it's preschool to second grade. We
Mhm.
rebuilt, we literally physically during March to September rebuilt everything back here, and we built a library. Kids don't nap; they actually learn science all day, and we're 98% outside, and we created a space
Wow.
that we're able to do that. We have animals that they have chores to do every day, and we have a place where I can blow stuff up, and I have blown so much stuff up since September. I've had to
Yes,
rebuild the.
I've seen.
My wife's like, "You can
What about
never
your
use our
neighbors?
microwave. No popcorn." No,
I
our neighbors are so cool. Like, no, they're like, "Jeane," one time because we did like one of these things and it actually made almost like a sonic type boom and it set some like car alarms off. So then when and all the neighbor, I was like, "Sorry." They're like, right?
Jean.
And so then I put little notes on there. I was like, "We're gonna do this again at this time," and they're like, "Okay." Like it's totally good. Like I don't know if you've seen some of my posts, but we always put stuff out in the front yard, like Valentine's. We have candy for the whole neighborhood that comes through. Yeah,
Oh,
I love it, but I also do it because I also blow stuff up.
you wanna stay on their
Like I
good graces.
say, like that's what's up. So no, totally. So we are putting a lot into sciencing time, and I'm pivoting a lot to help my wife do that, and I'm
Mhm,
really about it. And then we get to we take the kids on field trips. Each
mhm,
one of them, we take them at least once a month somewhere, because I think being out and about is really important and being hands on. But then it turns into a little bit of a romper room type thing where I'm able to interact with kids
mhm,
virtually, and it's easier for me to interact virtually if I have actual kids in front of me. So the two kind of do go hand in hand.
mhm,
LXS and our scientists, of course, we just did the Science and Engineering Festival. We hope that we're going to be with Comic Con again, and we'll be doing those types of things. We're slowing down a little bit on a couple of the other things, but we still like want to get kids to the king tide. But
mhm,
that's going to take a lot of busing because pre-COVID you could get 54 kids on a bus. Post-COVID you can only get 24 kids on a bus, and I don't know how
mhm,
that's going to change. But you got to plan for those types of things.
mhm,
And so we want to do those types of things, but also we're glad that so now at the League of Extraordinary Scientists YouTube, all of our scientists actually did a YouTube for the Science and Engineering Festival, each one of them personally, and we put them together
mhm,
so all teachers can use that. Like we also have folders that are 100% free access. Everything we do, it's open source, free access. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to fill anything out. You don't have to do anything. It's just there.
it's
And
there for
if
you to
you think
use.
all teachers, parents, if you're talking about this subject and you want them to talk to a real scientist about this subject,
Mhm,
we have a lot of them, and you guys can also ask us, hey, do you have a scientist that can make a YouTube about this, or that's local, or come and talk to our class? That's what we do, and we just, yeah, what do you guys need? We're here. We just want to engage the kids and make them more curious any way we can.
mhm,
So that's the future for us. I'm excited about moving forward with Sciencing Time and
mhm.
expanding League of Extraordinary Scientists and Engineers more virtually so that we can reach even more kids. but
Mhm.
also help out teachers
So,
because
how can everybody find you and the league and science and time? And then
yeah, every you make such the most complicated names, G. I do.
totally butchered it.
It's super good.
Sorry.
So, to find the League of Extraordinary Scientists and Engineers, you could go to sciencing.org, our nonprofit.
Yes.
And you can find us on Facebook at League of Extraordinary Scientists and Engineers. You could also find us on Instagram. We're most active on Instagram and Twitter. And
Mhm.
then for sciencing time, if you guys have a preschool to kindergartner that you would like to apply and get on our wait list, we're starting full time for preschool and kindergartners July after we take the kids on an overnight camping trip.
Ooh, to
Because
where? To where?
we're just gonna go up to Julian to William Heiss. We got a couple campsites, and listen,
Yes.
we've been exploring with these kids since September, all the way to March. So how else do you end it except on the most epic exploring adventure, right? So we're gonna take them on an
Yeah.
overnight camping trip. Yes, kindergarten or second graders. Me and my wife are taking them camping overnight. Yes, yes,
Yeah, you guys are crazy.
yes. But you guys can find us on Instagram at Science in Time. That's science with the EING time. And you
Yes.
can find our website at sciencing.com. And if you're interested, let us know. And we have private visits right now.
Mhm.
You guys can get on our wait list and see if you want to be part of our forever community. Yes.
Forever community, and then what a great and extraordinary community it is. Yeah, you are top notch, Jean. You really are.
Got
You're
you, Mama.
one of my favorites. I
Same.
do adore you. I do adore you so much. We
It's
will put
weird, we
all
started off in this little, like, box. Our
yeah,
office was, like, literally, like,
like this. It
it was exactly like this. Yes.
was like this. We spent a lot of time together. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. I'll put all her links in the description below so that you can find Jean and her League of Extraordinary Scientists and her preschool. If you're interested, you can click on any of those links down below. Thank you so much, Jean, for being on here. You're
Oh,
amazing.
I can't wait till I can hug you because right now you feel it. That's what's up. That's what's
Look
up,
at
Mom.
my bleach mark on my.
That's what's up. This is where I wanna be. So soon, Imma find you, and we're gonna give, like, the hug. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what's
The
up.
biggest hug ever. And just so you guys know, Jean gives the best hugs.
Aw.
You really do.
Aw.
Yes, the best. We'll bump into each other in some random place, like Comic Con.
Yep, 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 absolutely, or somewhere else, yeah, somewhere crazy.
Yes.
I love you
Thank
guys.
you, Jean.
Thank you so much.
Thank- and thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time on Gabbing with Gabby. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Mama.